Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It's your host Marvin. Do subscribe to our channel and support us. We're going to be looking at basically the missing Titanic submarine. May as well be on the backside of the moon. Retired submarine commander David Marquette has basically said that. It's not looking good for the five people who are on the submarine. Just going to listen to some of the stuff David has to say.
What you're making of what we heard from the US Coast Guard there, it does seem obviously operations have been concentrating on the surface so far, but they're now clearly getting more kit in place.
Well, it's good that they have more equipment and they can search under the water. It's not a good sign that they did not find the submarine on the surface. When we think about it, it's just 2.5 miles, but it's 2.5 miles underwater. So the pressure down there is 400 times what we experience here on the surface. It might as well be on the backside of the moon. First, we have to find it, and then we have to raise it back up and get it to the surface. The passengers on board do not have the ability to open the hatch. They're bolted in there. It's got to be opened from outside. So we really need us to rescue them.
And indeed, if they were to leave the craft, this is crush depth, where they'd just be crushed anyway. So that's why you have these special submersibles. I assume that the only way that you could free the craft or get it moving is to have another submersible with robotic arms, so it could actually intervene in some way?
Yes. I think the way you need to raise it to the surface.
That's pretty crazy that someone else has to let them out of the submarine. So basically they're locked in there. And I think what I heard is if they've got 3 or 4 days of air, that must be very, very crazy. 50 hours of emergency oxygen left aboard the submarine. That's crazy. That's nuts. That's very, very scary, knowing that you could run out and actually die in there. Oh my God. That's a position I wouldn't want to see anybody in. Jesus.
This will probably involve using a ship with a long cable and hooking the cable and then hoisting the submersible, which weighs about 10 tons, up to the surface. Now, it's possible maybe it's lodged underneath the Titanic somewhere, and if another submersible could, say, drag it out, then it has several mechanisms by which it could get itself to the surface. Maybe those would work, and it can then raise itself to the surface. But we need to plan on having to use a cable to pull it back up to the surface.
Okay, because obviously we understand it's got some motors on board, some sort of thrusters, but presumably they'd be battery powered, and there'll be a question as to how much of that juice is left on board as well.
Yeah, exactly. And those thrusters can drive the ship at about 3 miles an hour. So it has the ability to drive itself. If it's working properly, it would drive itself back up to the surface. But for some reason, it seems like those thrusters are not working, or the crew is unable to operate them. And so they need external help to get to the surface.
Now, that's the craft itself. What about those poor souls on board? Because I guess you've got a physical challenge.
It looks like a mini sub, to be honest with you. But like you said, it may have got dislodged in somewhere around the Titanic, which is absolutely awful. I think I think that was one of the worst things you can come across, is being trapped in water and knowing you only have a certain amount of time to get out of it. And so obviously the Coast Guard and authorities have to search very, very quickly to get these people out alive at the end of it. And there is a British billionaire on board as well. So, God, something that was supposed to be memorable in seeing that Titanic underwater is absolutely turned into a nightmare.
And you've got a psychological challenge as well.
It's really tough. This is about the size of a minivan, we would call it here in the United States. 5 people. There's no benches. They're kind of sitting on the floor. It's pitch black. It smells bad. They're breathing. Hopefully, they're relaxed, calm, trying to sleep, trying to meditate, use as little oxygen as possible, exhale as little carbon dioxide as possible, and extend the length of time that that oxygen supply is available for them.
Yeah, we're told there may be about 50 hours or so left. But what about this position of carbon dioxide? I mean, remember the Apollo 13 film, where you get these scrubbers, the charcoal filters to try and keep the air clean. Presumably there's some kind of filtration system as well.
They have that kind of thing, but those things do become saturated. And what happens as we exhale carbon dioxide, the carbon dioxide starts to rise in the atmosphere. First, we experience headaches, nausea, confusion, and then finally poisoning from carbon dioxide. But it's the same thing. Reducing the oxygen use will reduce the carbon dioxide emissions.
David, I have to ask you this question. Clearly, the families have asked people not to speculate and to pray for their families. But given your expert knowledge, I mean, and what you've been going through, I mean, the odds seem to be really stacked against them.
Yeah, we always hope that something will happen. I mean, Chilean miners were rescued and the boys in the cave were rescued. But they need to prepare for bad news because the odds are low and they're getting lower.
Okay, well, we'll keep people updated on the search operation still underway, of course. But thank you for your time. David Marguet, of course, former submarine commander, joining us there in the States. Thank you very much indeed.
Unbelievable. To be honest with you, Jesus, I'm going to pray for them. It's that's not good news. To be honest with you, it's just like they've got basically less than 50 hours of of oxygen down there to keep them alive. I think the experts are going to have to move, the Coast Guard and the experts are going to have to move really, really fast, and to obviously see whether that small submarine has got dislodged somewhere, or whether it's stuck and sorry can be dislodged, whether they can drag it up as soon as possible. I don't know how far they're down, but I'd imagine it's pretty far down as well, which makes it more dangerous. It'd be different if it was like maybe 20 feet, but I think it's probably a lot more than that, to be honest with you. But we'll keep you updated on it. It's very, very, very sad, and I pray for them to get out alive. That was David talking to GB News, which are pretty good, to be honest with you. Do subscribe to Streamlight Entertainment, and I'll keep you updated if I hear anything new. Thank you.